The valley lay quiet between two opposing hills, waiting beneath an open sky. On one side stood the armies of Israel, and on the other, the armies of the Philistines. Between them, a story of faith and courage was about to unfold. The Philistines gathered their forces at Soko in Judah and camped along the Valley of Elah. Israel assembled on the opposite ridge, the two armies facing one another across the open ground. Each morning and evening, the stillness was broken by the same challenge. From the Philistine camp came a champion named Goliath, from the city of Gath. He stood taller than any man in the valley, his presence commanding and unyielding. He wore a helmet of bronze upon his head, and his body was covered with scaled armor that gleamed in the light. His spear was heavy, and the shaft of it was like a weaver's beam. Before him walked a shield-bearer, clearing his path as he advanced. When Goliath spoke, his voice carried across the valley and echoed against the hills. He called out to the army of Israel and asked why they had come out to form their battle lines. He declared himself the champion of the Philistines and challenged Israel to send out a man to fight him. If the chosen man prevailed, the Philistines would serve Israel. If Goliath prevailed, Israel would serve the Philistines. For 40 days, morning and evening, this challenge was repeated. Each time, the men of Israel heard his words and were dismayed. Fear settled among them, and none stepped forward. At that time, Saul was king over Israel, and he stood with his army in the valley. Saul himself was troubled, for no one could be found to answer the challenge. The days passed, and the voice of Goliath continued to dominate the valley. Now David, the son of Jesse, lived in Bethlehem. He was the youngest of 8 sons, and while his older brothers followed Saul to battle, David tended his father's sheep. From time to time, Jesse sent David to the camp to bring food to his brothers and to learn how they fared. One morning, David rose early and left the sheep with a keeper. He took the provisions his father had prepared and traveled to the camp of Israel. As he arrived, the army was going out to the battle line, shouting their war cry. David left his supplies with the keeper and ran to the ranks to greet his brothers. As he spoke with them, Goliath stepped forward once more and delivered his challenge. David heard the words, clear and unhidden, carried across the open ground. The men of Israel spoke among themselves of the champion's strength and of the fear he inspired. They also spoke of the reward promised by the king to the man who would defeat him. David listened and asked what would be done for the one who struck down the Philistine. His questions were overheard, and word reached King Saul. David was brought before the king, still young in appearance, yet steady in speech. He told Saul not to let his heart fail because of the Philistine. David spoke of his days as a shepherd. He told of lions and bears that came against the flock. When one took a lamb, David pursued it, struck it down, and rescued the lamb from its mouth. He said that the same hand that delivered him from the lion and the bear would deliver him from the Philistine. Saul listened, and though he hesitated, he agreed. He told David to go, and that the Lord would be with him. Saul clothed David with his own armor and placed a bronze helmet upon his head. He gave David a coat of mail and a sword. David tried to walk, but the weight and unfamiliarity slowed him. David removed the armor, for he had not tested it. Instead, he took his staff in his hand. He chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and placed them in his shepherd's bag. With his sling in hand, David walked toward the valley. Goliath saw him approaching and looked upon him with disdain. He saw a youth, ruddy and unarmored, standing against him. Goliath spoke with contempt, asking if he were a dog to be met with sticks. He cursed David by his gods and promised to feed his flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. The valley held its breath as the two faced one another. David answered calmly. He said that Goliath came with sword and spear, but he came in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel. He declared that the battle belonged not to weapons, but to the Lord. As Goliath moved closer, David ran toward the battle line. He reached into his bag and took out a stone. With practiced motion, he placed it in his sling and sent it forth. The stone struck Goliath upon the forehead. It sank in, and the giant fell forward, face down upon the ground. The valley, once filled with fear, stood silent. David ran and stood upon the Philistine. He took Goliath's sword and drew it from its sheath. With it, he struck the fallen champion and cut off his head. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. The men of Israel and Judah rose up and pursued them, shouting as they went. The Philistines were driven back along the road to their cities. After the battle, David brought the head of Goliath to Jerusalem. He placed the Philistines' armor among his own belongings. His name became known throughout Israel. David returned to his place among the people, not as a champion seeking honor, but as one who had answered a call. The Valley of Elah returned to quiet, the echoes of battle fading into memory. Yet the story remained. A shepherd had stepped forward when others stood still. The clash of armies gave way to the sound of a single stone striking true, and the valley bore witness to what faith could accomplish. The hills stand as they always have, watching over the land. The story rests within them, unchanged by time, and in the quiet, it continues to be remembered.